Hey guys, welcome back to Exit Music for a Film, a podcast breaking down some of Hollywood's most recent theatrical releases. I'm your host, Ken Perry. We hope everyone's holding up well in regards to the recent events with the quarantine and staying isolated and safe. This time can get pretty boring, so when we're stuck inside, we're working on some planned releases coming up, once in a while. Episodes that are, a little different from our normal regular reviews in that format. So hopefully we'll get some stuff out once in a while here that's, a little bit different. Couple creative ideas flowing right now. Though today's episode has been planned to happen before, any of this went down. With my free time, personally, I've been watching a ton of movies, especially taking time and attempting to fill in various blind spots I had with, viewing classic movies that I've just never got around, took the time to watch. We have so much time, and then there's so many blind spots out there, so there's a possibility, certainly, of getting some guests on and doing a major blind spot episode in the future. That's my suggestion for all of you guys, though, honestly. Take the challenge and pick a movie, a classic or, super widely acclaimed film that, you've never took the time to sit down and view and do it. Do it up. Knock something big off your list. Watch it. Let us know what you watched. For me personally, a couple of my big ones that I hit during this, first month. Finally got around to watching. It's crazy, I've never seen it, but I've never finished my Lord of the Rings trilogy. We watched Return of the King one night, so I'm finally a Lord of the Rings completist. It's not my favorite, but I really appreciate those movies and how much went into making those, and obviously living up to Tolkien's great masterworks. Watched Casablanca, which was amazing. That's one I never got to. It was extremely well done. I really enjoyed Casablanca. It was a great story. Finally watched Alien, which that escaped me for years and years. I enjoyed Alien a lot. Good horror movie. Jaws in space. Finally revisited, I haven't seen Citizen Kane in upwards of, a decade. So I took the time to rewatch Citizen Kane. I felt like I just needed a rewatch of that. Again, holds up. It's fucking incredible. It's one of the best movies of all time. And finally, I watched both the new and old Blade Runner movies, which I actually liked a lot more than I thought I would. Both of them were really good. I've had people ask me which one I liked better, but I mean, I don't know, man. Both of them were really good. The fact that they made those sets, they made an entire town back in whatever, I think it was 82, the original with Harrison Ford. All those sets were just completely made for that movie, and it looked incredible, and it holds up. I thought it was still a really cool set, and it was quite an achievement. And the new one with Ryan Gosling was also awesome. So those are just a few of my blind spots thus far that I've knocked off, and I definitely plan to knock off a bunch more, and maybe we'll have another check-in as far as blind spots go. But I'm trying to knock off at least one major one a week if possible when I have some free time and not working. Anyways, on to today's show. Again, this was planned before any of this went down, so I do want to see it through. Today we're counting down our top 5 most anticipated movies set to be released in the 2020 calendar year as we enter not only a new year in our second year in Exit Music for a Film history, but a new decade. So, in regards to many movies coming out recently being pushed back, we got lucky here, and all the top 5 movies on this list just happen to be already set for release in the back half of 2020. Just a disclaimer before we start. So as of now, The word on all these is there's no pushback of the release date as of yet. These are all July and back, so we're going to proceed with this episode as if there's no difference as of yet, and we'll go from there. Okay, so as exit music for a film, let's enter a new decade. Let's enter 2020. Number 5 on our list for the most anticipated theatrical releases of 2020 is Tenet. Tenet is the next film by the fantastic director Christopher Nolan. It's an action epic. It's going to revolve, it looks like, around international espionage, time travel, and evolution. The film's going to star Robert Pattinson, who's been on a roll lately, and John David Washington, which I'm super excited about. BlacKkKlansman was one of my that made my best of the decade list. I think John David Washington's going to have a serious career ahead of him, and I'm excited to watch him, what he does in just the immediate future, and just see what the 2020s and beyond hold for him. I think he's going to follow in his father's footsteps, and I think he's going to have a hell of a career ahead of him. He's on my younger or newer stars to watch moving forward for sure. I loved him in BlacKkKlansman. I think he got it. From this trailer, I watched this trailer many times as of lately, and looks like it's going to be yet another obviously imaginative and epic experience from the one of a kind mind from Christopher Nolan. This film's currently in post production. Looks like a big action epic, which I love when Christopher Nolan does more over action stuff. In regards to for example, Dunkirk, Dark Knight, Memento, things like that. They're not always huge action movies, but I mean this one looks like there's going to be a lot of action involved with the whole international espionage tactic on there. So this film's currently in post-production, as we know of right now, and is set for a July 17th release. And that Tenet is actually the earliest release we have on our list. Number 4 is The French Dispatch. Another established and signature director returning to the big screen in 2020 is the quirky mastermind of Wes Anderson. His latest film, The French Dispatch, is a love letter to the magazine journalism establishment, just as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a love letter to Hollywood's golden age. This is going to be set in an outpost of an American newspaper in a fictional French city in the 20th century. The film's rumored to be inspired by The New Yorker, which director Wes Anderson, oddly enough, has a odd obsession with, but that's kind of on brand for Wes Anderson. I'm not surprised at all. He said he's collected newspapers from The New Yorker since he was a teenager. So this film also has a trailer out on YouTube you can watch. This is a star-studded cast from top to bottom. It's awesome. It includes Benicio del Toro, Frances McDermott, Adrian Brody, Timothy Chalamet, Saoirse Ronan, just to name a few. Honestly, there's so many, even more than that. The story seems like it'll be an interesting one for Wes Anderson to tackle. I'm interested in. I think it's going to be really good. He's certainly a unique and he's one of the most unique and fun filmmakers working today. So seeing this will be an interesting, subject for him to tackle. It's again this film as well as in post production is set for a theatrical release of July 24th, which will be the week after Tenet premieres. So if all goes according to plan and we get back to normal, in the next couple months, it looks like July is going to be an awesome year for movie going, and I'm sure a lot of people that like to go to the movies will definitely try to get out and do so. So July could be a good bounce back month for the movie industry and movie theaters. All right, number 3 is Mank. This is one of the most interesting projects of the year for me and for many, I'm sure, many film enthusiasts. Director David Fincher finally, thank God, returns to the big screen. And this is going to be for the first time since 2014's Gone Girl. He's going to tell the story of screenwriter Herman J. Mankiewicz and his turbulence in development of Orson Welles' iconic masterpiece Citizen Kane. So it's no secret that I love movies about making movies. I'm automatically sold if it's a movie, involving the inner workings of the film industry. And this one seems very interesting. I just mentioned Citizen Kane and that I just, revisited it recently, and it got me even more hyped for Mank. It seems like there was a lot of issues between Herman J. Mankiewicz, the screenwriter of the film, and Orson Welles, who directed and starred, and I guess produced Citizen Kane. I guess a lot of credit that Mankiewicz felt like he deserved went to Orson Welles, and it's anyone that's any type of film enthusiast knows that it's no secret that Orson Welles was apparently a nightmare to work with, and that comes from various sources. So this is going to be very interesting. I don't know very much at all about the backstory to all this. I'll have to read up more in my free time. But I guess there's a lot of, again, there's a lot of credit that Mankiewicz feels like he should have had, and he had a much bigger hand than he initially got credit for in the creation of one of the most iconic masterpieces of all time. So, what's interesting about this film and this project is the screenplay was actually written by not David Fincher, but his late father, Jack Fincher. It's set to star Gary Oldman in the namesake role of Mankiewicz. That's exciting, and as a fan of movies, about the film industry again, I'm sold already. Very excited for this project. So there's no release date as of yet that I've seen the last time I checked, but this project was purchased and will premiere on Netflix. So Netflix, I mean, if you want to help people out and get people excited, why don't you release it early if all is done and set to go? Release it now during all this. That'd be pretty cool. It would take our minds off some stuff. Because there's not much, going on new as of recently. I mean, I'm just watching, I'm doing my blind spots, and not many new movies coming out that have been great or directly to streaming sites. So I would love to just log on to Netflix one day in the midst of all this and have Mank up and ready to go. Let's do it. Number 2, The Many Saints of Newark. I don't know what to expect out of this project at all. To be honest, I'm seriously trying to not get my hopes up, but the one certain redeemable factor of this project that even makes this have the possibility of being a good idea is David Chase's involvement as the writer-producer of this and giving his blessing at all. So, The Many Saints of Newark is a Sopranos prequel. It'll take a look at Tony Soprano's formative years and will likely focus a lot more on his father Johnny's crew, along with Uncle Junior, as they run North Jersey, I guess, in the 60s and 70s, I would assume. This film's going to star John Bernthal from The Walking Dead and Vera Farmiga, I think her name is. I don't know how you pronounce it, but, from Departed and Bates Motel and whatnot. These two are likely going to be Tony's parents, Johnny and Olivia. I think especially for Olivia, I like that, doing Vera Farmiga for her. We'll see how Bernthal does as Johnny Soprano. Also, James Gandolfini's real life son is going to step in, continue his late father's role in Legacy as he plays young Tony Soprano. It's been cool to see. I haven't seen any trailers yet, but there's been various stills and photos from set. And it's cool to see his son dressed up in I guess young Tony Soprano in high school and whatnot, with the long hair and stuff. He looks just like him, and it's very interesting. I'm interested to see what this project's gonna bring. All I could say though for it at this time is I'm intrigued. I'm not going to get my hopes up. We're just going to have to wait and see. We've seen nothing. We've seen no trailers, so it's going to be a lot to follow up what I believe and is many, many more believe is the greatest TV series of all time. Film's in post-production and currently set for a September 25th release date. Alright. So finally, this brings us to exit music for a film's most anticipated film of the 2020 calendar year, which is Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Denis Villeneuve is attempting to do what no one else has successfully been able to do in the film industry, and that's to successfully adapt Frank Herbert's science fiction epic. This task has been a daunting one, and it's been attempted by various directors, and it's either ended up being totally abandoned or a mess and hated by the director themselves. In the case of David Lynch, it's no secret that David Lynch hated that he took on doing Dune, and he was just absolutely miserable doing so. I read a biography on David Lynch recently, and it was like, it almost made him want to quit directing. It was just way out of his wheelhouse and such a big production, and it was just too much for him to take on. It was not the type of project he wanted to be involved in. So this has been a daunting task in the past for Hollywood and directors. So if Denis Villeneuve pulls this off, this will certainly be an insane next step for the director, and will certainly catapult him into the top tier of today's directors, the names of the top tier directors today and in present time. Though he's amazing now. He's had hit after hit. He's fantastic. I'm a huge fan with Arrival, Sicario, and Blade Runner 2049, which is one I just watched. He's fantastic. I think he's going to be a great person to take this project on. He's going to be a good candidate. I'm obviously extremely excited. This is our most anticipated movie of the year, so we're going to have to wait and see how it turns out. Unfortunately, we'll be waiting almost basically the whole year, as Dune is currently in post-production, along with basically every other movie on this list. And it's set to hit theaters on December 18th, so the very end of the year there. This film is going to star Timothée Chalamet, Jason Momoa, Zendaya, Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac, Javier Bardem, Dave Bautista, Stellan Skarsgård, and more. It's, again, star-studded cast. This is, is plans to be, a series, the first in a series. I'm very, very excited to see how this turns out. This is the number one, most anticipated movie of the year for sure. So we'll have to wait till December. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then with how this, whole first quarter of the year has turned out. But we have hopes for some, good films down the line here. And they're all in the back half of the year. But we're going to keep our eye on, more projects. But those are movies that are keeping me excited for, the return to everyday life and being able to go to the theater once more and enjoy new theatrical releases. Well, there they are, our top 5 most anticipated films of 2020. I'm very excited for the release of each of these, and unfortunately, all 5 are set for release in, later times, and which could feel like, with what's going on now, could feel like 100 years away. So I'm going to keep doing my blind spots. We're going to think of ideas for episodes. They're going to be a little unorthodox. We're going to hopefully get some guests on. We'll be keeping our eyes out for more exciting releases for 2020. Hopefully we will have our first true review episode coming up here shortly of the decade. We will keep our eyes out for releases and, follow us on Instagram and for updates and new episodes. I won't tell you to keep going to the movies because we can't, but please, guys, keep watching movies and keep safe.